You
Oh,
fools, man.
God, 4:45.
All
Disgusting.
right, we are live. So good morning, everyone. I got Kevin Self Storage here. So welcome, man.
Thank you.
A lot to talk about. Harrison is running a little late. He got called into a meeting, but hold on. Let me go live on Instagram here. All right, we are good to go. All right, so morning, man. Yeah, so I know you kind of posted something on X. So actually quickly give the audience a quick backstory, who you are, where you invest, and what you're investing in.
Yeah. Um, so I'm Kevin, firefighter, like you, in California. We started in single family homes back in like 09, 2010. Started doing single family homes, mostly college rentals where I went to school. Then transitioned into some small multi units. And then after that, we did that for quite a while. In 2022, I started learning about self storage. 2023, bought our first self storage facility. Um, Now we own 10 of them, and we're pretty much focused in that asset class only. We also do lending as well. We have a little hard money fund that we run. Um, we do the occasional flip, but for the most part, we're self storage.
Nice. And you said 10 units, is that what you said?
Yep. Yeah. Well, we had 11, and then we sold one last week, so now I've got 10.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of what we might dig into a little bit today. I saw you post on X. You sold what your first, that
Yeah.
was that your first unit that you did acquire initially?
Yep, it was the first one we bought. In We bought that in July of 2023, so we held it for 22 months. Um, and there was a couple reasons why we sold it. We were thinking about. We kind of went back and forth on it, but we ended up pulling the trigger and selling it. We got a decent price for it, and sold that a week ago.
And what was the decision or deciding factor for that? I
Um,
mean,
well, I think partially I wanted to see one go full cycle, buy it, rehab it, do well with it, optimize it, and then sell it. And we had continued to buy more, and so wanted to see one go full cycle. And then there's a little bit of a demand shift in the area. A new facility came in, kind of increased the supply quite a bit. I was worried that we were going to kind of stagnate on rates for a couple of years until demand caught back up to that new supply. And just figured if I was going to sell it now, it's probably the best time. While we had that kind of higher revenue we were at.
all right. Do you have anything you wanna, I mean, like breaking down the deal, like where was it? How many units?
Yeah,
How'd you get the financing for it to start off with?
yeah. So I'll give you a quick rundown of the deal. It was a listed property. It was listed. Commercial properties are listed on Crexy or LoopNet, other sites as well. So it was listed. It was listed at 850,000. Um, this was 2023. Not a lot of people were buying. Rates had just skyrocketed. A lot of people were kind of pencils down. And so some of the listed properties were just sitting there. And so we offered 785, and they ended up accepting our offer. We went through due diligence. We found out that a lot of things were not quite as they seemed initially, as happened. So there's a couple of roofs that needed repair. There's a couple other little things that we found that weren't disclosed. So we were able to renegotiate the price during due diligence to 705,000. Kind of worked out perfectly. I had just sold a sixplex in Tucson, Arizona, for about that exact same price, and so I just moved the money from the sixplex sale to this sale. Um, we bought it. We put about 50,000 into it, so we're into it for around 750. Um, and then it took 22 months to kind of stabilize the revenue. We got the revenue from doing around 4K a month to at the end we were doing just over 12,000 a month. And then we sold it for 1.25. Um, so into it for 750, sold it for 1.25. Decent return for us for 22 months worth of work.
When you say us, who's us? Did you partner with other people?
No, it's just me. It's my wife and I.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay. So, I mean, as far as, do you think it's riskier? What was did you try to look for partners first, or you wanted to kind of just do it you and your wife initially?
Um, I had a great coach. And so I had the confidence that he was kind of the backstop. And if I had questions, he was there. He was a great mentor. And so I was confident enough. Also, just being in the real estate space for the last 15 plus years, I just knew real estate. This is obviously a different asset class, but I was confident enough to take it on myself with the help of a mentor and coach. But I've also done deals since then, I've done a few deals with partners as well. But yeah, it was a scary leap switching asset classes. But I dove in and figured, there's only one way to find out if I'm going to like it and it's going to work. And that was just jumping in and buying it.
Nice. Want to just give quick good mornings to everyone tuning in. We got Andy tuning in from Ohio. I know Andy reached out to you. Because someone reached out to him with a self-storage deal. So
Yeah,
I
that's
told him
right.
reach out to Kevin. So Andy's tuning in, but he's working right now, so he's not gonna, I don't know how much he's listening, but all nighter hiders here. So thanks for tuning in. We got Big Val, Cody, Josh Burdick's here, and while he's at the dentist, he's tuning in. But Josh does have a question for you. He says, "How much abandoned junk do you end up with?"
Yeah, a decent amount. So we have a pretty good process on trying to collect money. So typically what happens is it depends on the state, but I'll just give general examples. If you're 7 days late, you get locked out of the gate. So you can't get into the facility until you pay. As soon as you pay, your gate code works again. If you're 14 days late, you get an overlock on your unit. So maybe you followed a car into the gate, so you're able to get in, but now you go to your unit and there's an overlock on it. So even if you take your lock off, our lock is still there. After 30 days, we can lien your items. After 60 days, we can auction your items. So if you still haven't made payments within 60 days, we cut your lock, we open it up, we take pictures, and we do an online auction. I'd say probably 90% of our auctions sell online for some price. It might be $10. It might be just had one sell for $550. But they go online. So typically that handles our issue of dealing with people's junk. The other 10% where it's maybe just more so trash or nothing of value and it doesn't sell, then we have to have someone come and clean out the unit. But that's more of a rare occasion. Usually they sell for something.
So, like going back to, you did mention you just sold your first unit that you did acquire. Is that always kind of the vision in self-storage? Do people buy and sell for within the 5 years or so? Is it like long-term holds where people are holding it 20 years, 30 years type of thing?
Yeah, I think just like residential, there's different playbooks, right? Or multifamily, there's different playbooks. Our initial thought and still our thesis is that we're going to buy and hold. I like the cash flow of it. I like, getting it on good debt terms where I'm able to slowly pay down the debt. A lot of seller financing with these that we have. And so we want to buy and hold. It just happened that before I kept buying more, I wanted to see one work, right? Because you have equity. You can say you have equity, you think it's worth 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, but until you really sell it, it's not, you don't know what it's worth. And so I just kind of needed that confidence of selling it. Our goal was to hold it. And I think it was in a great area. I think it was an appreciating area. There's part of me that says, "Oh, why did I sell? I should have held it." But it's given me the confidence to kind of continue to buy and hold. And I just needed one. I needed one to go all the way through to convince myself that this worked. But going forward, we don't have any plans to sell any that we own. If we did come across something, maybe a smaller facility that made sense to do like a more of a flip, if you will, we'd be open to that. But for the most part, we want to hold, larger cash flowing facilities.
How did you decide on that facility? Or was it just because that was your first one, you've held it the longest, and what made you decide on selling that one?
I had kind of gone back and forth on it. So the coach that I worked with was more of the mindset of, hey, flip these things, just make the quick cash. He had a great playbook that I learned from, that I'm now coaching people as well to do the same thing that I did. And his thing was basically, here's how you turn it around quickly and realize that profit and go do it again. And so that was his model. My model just kind of took his same playbook, but for long-term hold. So there's different options. Just depends.
All right. Someone thanks Jimmer for tuning in. He thinks we're scammers. He says these guys are scammers. Oh, well, he says they're scammers 1%. Does that mean we're not much of a scammer? Well,
These
thanks for
guys,
tuning in.
I don't
Yeah.
know. Don't
Um,
vote.
yeah.
Okay.
But Josh says, "What's the craziest stuff you found in a unit?" Can you say that? I don't know.
Dead body.
Like, what? Wait. Like, wait a minute. Wait.
No,
Like,
I say that we found we found an urn with remains in it.
oh, okay.
And so that was interesting, trying to figure out what do we do with that. Luckily, when we auctioned off the unit, they told us about it, and we're like, hey, just leave it. They didn't, obviously the person who won it didn't want that, so they left it there. We actually, I think we still have it. We're keeping it we're trying to get in contact with that person who had the unit, to see if they want to pick it up. But yeah, I don't know. So we have some remains. We found a lot of people keep tools. A lot of tools end up getting sold. All kinds of stuff. People keep all kinds of stuff in storage. A lot of sentimental stuff, which is unfortunate when your things get auctioned.
Wait, okay. Well, before we move on, but not crazy stuff you found, but was it you that posted? Was there a guy breaking in from the next unit? Was that you? I forget.
I'm dealing with that right now. Yeah, this is real estate is definitely not passive. Anyone who thinks this is a passive investment is misguided. So yeah, here's another one. We had somebody rent a unit. They rented a 20 by 25 unit, so large unit. And what they were doing is they were going through interior walls from their unit and just taking stuff, cherry picking stuff out of all the units next to them. And they were metal walls, but they would unscrew it, they'd bend it back, and they'd go to the next unit, take their stuff, bring it back to their unit, put the metal back, screw it back in, so no one could notice that it was gone. They'd been doing that for a while. Well, somebody finally noticed the broken metal. It ended up getting traced back to this unit. Sheriff came, seized the unit. They're doing a search warrant right now to see how much stolen stuff is there. They arrested these people, and it's probably going to be a big deal because it was, if you add up all the items they stole, it's going to be quite a bit. So I don't know what the felony charge will be, but it'll be substantial. And so fortunately, these guys got caught. They were doing this in other storage facilities in the area as well. And they were just happy to use our large unit as a collection point for all their stolen goods, which is super fun to deal with and tell all your tenants that someone's been breaking in from the inside.
So, a lot of people maybe are interested in self-storage because they hear the no tenant, no toilets type of thing. So we just want to point out that, investing is not passive. So even though
No.
self-storage may have these attractive features to it, there's always something going on, right? But Steven, who is a new member of the school community, I believe he's in Canada, and he's looking for a market to invest in out of state. But maybe he does have some interest in self-storage. But he did have a question. He says, what kind of lending do you do for storage?
Yeah. So do I do personally, or can you obtain to buy a storage facility?
I think probably obtain.
Yeah. So you have different options, more options than you have with a single family home. So you can get traditional financing through a bank, credit union, just like you would a home. Your other option is seller financing. We always push for seller financing on anything that we're going to buy. It just makes things easy. Avoid the bank. Typically get a better interest rate. Obviously, you can go hard money. So if we give hard money loans for people who are buying storage as well. So people who maybe can't line up the financing in time, it's a good enough deal where a higher interest rate on some hard money makes sense. And then they'll eventually refinance us out with the bank. There's that option. And then lastly, the unique option to self-storage is you can get an SBA loan. So you can get a small business loan. because it is a business, it's not just an asset, it's a business that generates revenue. So, you can get a SBA loan for very little down. There's a lot of hoops you have to jump through to do it, but it's possible.
I did want to say morning to Frank, old guy REI. Just if you haven't, I put his PayPal link for the one rental at a time shirts or fundraiser shirts he is selling for the ORAD event. So this is the front of it. Here is the back, and yeah, so he's trying to raise funds for the blind center. So if you can, and you or if you want one, go pick one up. But there is the PayPal link.
Nice.
Morning, invest to wealth. Morning, Jimmer. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, I think every time I talk to you, self storage always piques my interest. And like I said, Andy had a deal presented to him. He reached out to you. I think even Harrison, I think I saw him mention somewhere, maybe in one of our group chats, that I think it's someone from, or he's having coffee with someone from North Carolina that's selling self storage, or no,
Oh, cool.
South Carolina, I
South
believe.
Carolina.
But also, you mentioned that you're now coaching people, right? So
Yeah.
I did put your X link. I think is that the only way to reach out to you? Is that the only platform
Yeah,
you're
that's
on?
probably the best. And then we can move to email and phone and all that. But yeah, it's been cool. It's not something I ever thought I would do. But it's been fun, and I'm just it's definitely not a money maker for me. It's a I've designed it to where there's a financial and time commitment on both sides for buy-in. But it's more just it's a fun thing for me. I've got 3 people right now that I'm coaching, and maybe I have the bandwidth for 1 or 2 more. But it's been cool to just kind of see them progress and kind of give back the same way that I was. I felt like I had a great coach, and so I'm just trying to pass that along since he's not coaching any longer. But it's been fun.
That facility that you just sold, was it you had it listed, and like how long did that whole process take? Did it sit a while? Like right now, like in residential real estate, we're seeing a lot of properties sit longer on the market. Like how's the self storage space right now?
Yeah. So at first I tried to sell it myself without a broker. I went under contract with somebody. They were getting an SBA loan. They ended up not getting approved, so that fell apart. So then I was like, well, I'll just list it, see what happens. So I listed it, got somebody. I can't remember what price we agreed to. I think it was around the same price, 125. Might have been a little more. I was going to sell or finance a portion of it. They were going to come in with like 50% down. I was going to sell or finance the rest. Um, it was 2 partners, and then one of them got sick, went in the hospital, and they canceled the deal. So that was like 45 days in or something like that in total, like right before due diligence was supposed to end. So I'm like, man, that was a bummer. So now I'm strike 2. So I'm like, well, let's put them on the market one more time. And I'm like, if it doesn't sell this time, someone's telling me something, and I should just hang on to it. Why is this happening? So anyway, put it on the market once more. And then a group offered all cash for it. They were transitioning from mobile home parks, and they wanted to kind of dip their toe into self storage. Um, the 2 asset classes are similar in a lot of ways, and so I think they'll be successful. But they wanted to buy a more stabilized asset, not something that needed a lot of work, and that's what I had done for the last 22 months is work to stabilize it. Um, so they bought it cash for 1.25, and they'll make in revenue around 12,000 a month. After expenses, they'll probably net 90 to 95K a year. So I think it's a
Uh,
win-win.
oh, sorry, we did skip over one of the questions from Josh. He says, "Do you brand your properties with franchise big names or just mom and pop it?"
Yeah, that's a good question. So we have different brand names. So we have 8 facilities in North Dakota. Those facilities are all branded the same because they're somewhat local to each other. So I want to kind of create a brand there. The other 3 that we had um, were just branded as individual storages. They weren't. They were unique to the location. They weren't. In a brand synergistic to each other. But I do think there is benefit to branding. It doesn't do much good if they're in different sides of the country, but if they're somewhat local or geographically close, then branding I think does help.
So what was like your when you first acquired the facility, I mean, I'm sure you ran your numbers and whatnot. And now after selling it, did it
Yeah.
kind of surpass maybe what your expectations were? Like what type of returns did you get on it?
Yeah. Yeah. Good question. Yeah, it's funny. So I projected a sale price at 1.1. Um, that's kind of when I ran all my numbers, I was like 1.1. But I was also thinking, hey, if I get $1 million, I'll be happy. I thought my capex was going to be a little higher. I thought I'd be into it for 800. So I was like, hey, 800, sell it for 1.1 minus closing costs, real estate commissions. Like, I'll take that for my first one, solid double base hit. Um, Turns out, our capex was less. We were able to turn it around faster than we thought. And then, obviously we got a little more for it at 1.25. So we're pretty conservative in our underwriting, and I think the downside of that is that we miss out on a lot of deals because our offers are low, because we're conservative. But the ones that do get accepted, we know that that's usually our lowest that we're willing to make, and we probably have runway for quite a bit more. So pros and cons to being conservative. It's nice when you can under promise and over deliver. That's a good feeling.
So a lot of people, nobody are besides you and Mike Webb that are directly in the self storage space, but even like in our community, people are trying to find deals, small multis, whatnot. And I know you do a lot of lead gen type stuff. So how do you find sellers that are interested in selling their property, or owners that are interested in selling their properties?
Yeah. Yeah, so we try to take like a multi approach to this, because this is for us. This is the bottleneck. We have enough connections and whatnot. We can raise the capital for a good deal, but it's finding the good deal. And so we send letters. So we send a lot of mail to facility owners. We send packages to the facilities that we really like to make sure they open it. Costs more money, but we get close to like a 70% response rate when we send packages.
Wait, what do you mean by packages?
Like a large, small,
Oh, okay.
like a larger box that you like ship from like FedEx or UPS. Who's not going to open that if it gets to them? And in that package is literature about us, who we are, what we do, and that we're interested in their self-storage facility. So, maybe it's $7 to ship plus the flyers and whatnot that we put inside there. So it's not cheap. But the ones that we're targeting, that we know we really want, that's what we do just to start a conversation. It's a pretty high response rate if you're going to send, some people call it bulk mail, but we actually send a legit package. So we do mailers. We do cold calling. We have a cold caller and acquisitions guy that cold calls on our behalf. So he's just reaching out to facilities. If he gets, the opportunity to talk to an owner and they're interested in selling, he then kind of gets all the information we need and then passes that owner off to us, where we can kind of talk through negotiations and, if we're close on price. Listed properties, obviously we're always checking those. Relationships with brokers, I think is underrated, but I think is super important. We have a lot of brokers that'll bring us deals prior to putting them on the market. Doesn't mean they're not going to put them on the market, even if we want the deal. But we typically get a first look, and if we can submit a good enough offer, that seller potentially will just say, hey, let's not even bother putting this on the market. Let's just go with these guys since you trust them. So, that's a big deal to try and get those relationships with successful brokers. And we do email reach out, we do text reach out. We just try and hit people from all the different angles, and try and see who's open to selling.
What is like the one myth about self storage that you probably hear quite a bit that you want to kind of toss aside right now?
The one myth, that's a good question. I still think people assume real estate is, who maybe aren't in the space, think it's passive. And I know we talked about this already, but it is not passive. It takes work. I'd say that self-storage is much more passive than having a portfolio of single-family homes. for sure. I've done both. It is, but there's still work to be involved. There's still management throughout the day. Now it's the way we have it set up. We have a call center that takes our calls. I have an operations manager that handles the majority of operations. I have a boots on the ground at each location that does the task for us at those locations. But there's still the 5 to 10% of problems that can't be solved through those channels. They get to me, and I have to figure out how to solve those problems. So it's not passive. It's to me, being in different asset classes, it's as close to passive as you're going to get with real estate. But it's not a set it and forget it kind of thing. You have to work.
Does any of yours have a manager on site? Any of your facilities?
No, we're all remote managed. So we have boots on the ground at every facility, but they don't stay at the location. They visit the location 3 to 4 times a month and do the tasks that we lay out for them. But we don't have any managers on site. There's no payroll. Everyone's a 1099 contractor. Much simpler, much easier that way. Unless you have a very large facility with different unit options, climate control, drive up, things where you would want somebody to like show people around. Or if it's not all drivable and you have to go upstairs, just there's different reasons why you'd want a manager. But none of our facilities it's just not needed.
Oh, okay. So if someone is interested in a unit there, most of them don't actually physically see it first. They just online, they reserve it at your spaces.
Yeah, they go online, they rent the unit. Our boots on the ground puts our lock on the unit. As soon as they rent the unit, they get the code texted to them to our lock. So they go to the unit, they put in the code, and then they have access to the unit. They put our lock in the drop box, and our boots on the ground can use it for the next vacant unit. Some people want to see the unit first. It's rare. Most of them have already driven by, or they live local. They know the facility. But some of them want to look at the inside, and that's fine. We let them look at the inside. We give them the code. We just make sure that they only have 24 hours of access, and then we shut off their access if they don't rent the unit.
Interesting. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So now let's kind of dig into, I guess. So what is the what is the number one thing I guess you're looking for initially when you're searching for facilities that you're targeting? What is that standout thing for you?
It's a lot. I think I think there's two main things. I think there's the demographics of where you're buying, and then I think there's the facility. And we're going to look at things for each of those. For the facility, we're going to be looking at size, number of units, the condition of the facility, the roofs, the doors, the foundations, things like that. For the demographics, we're going to be looking at, what's the median income of that area? What's the supply and demand when it comes to, how many square feet per capita of storage is there in, a 3, a 5, a 7, a 10-mile radius? We want to make sure that there's demand for storage. We're going to look at, population growth, or is it an increasing population or is it decreasing? And so you can't just look at the facility. You have to look at the demographics in the area as well. But for us right now, I'd say the big things we're looking at, we want something over 20,000 square feet. It's this very close to the same amount of work to buy a small facility as a big facility. So you might as well buy a bigger facility and generate more money. It's really not that much work. More work, I should say. And then as far as the demographics, the number one thing we're looking at is a increasing population. Even if it's 0.1%, that's fine. But we're not going to buy in an area that has a stagnant or decreasing population because we want to make sure, because we are holding long-term, that we're on the right side of that supply and demand curve.
What is like the biggest surprise been in self-storage? Like now that you're on like roughly your 11th unit, I guess, from the first one to now, what was the biggest surprise for you?
I think how easy it was to generate and increase revenue. Like I was used to single family and multifamily. Everyone's on a year lease. Like they just pay you the same amount every month. Um, and then at the end you can reevaluate, and hopefully you're in an area where the rental prices have increased and you go up 50, 100, $200, and you put them on another year lease and you set it and forget it. Um, Storage is all month to month, and so I knew that, but I didn't really know like what that meant. And what that means is that I can raise people's rent every month if I wanted to. Now they might move out, so I have to be careful about it. I have to do it in the right, ethical and moral way. But if I take on a facility that's 40% below market rents, with a click of a button, I could increase everybody 20%. And if you increase everyone 20%, and assuming they stay, because they're not going to go anywhere else because everywhere else is more expensive, um, well, you've just increased the value of that facility substantially, right? If you're selling it at an 8 cap, or a 7 cap, and you can increase revenue by 20%. I mean, the multiple on that is huge. That's, 6 figures potentially. So it's just, it was crazy to me, like with a click of a button on a management software, that I can, go from 4,000 a month to 6,000 a month to 8 to 10 to 12. It's unique to anything that I've done before.
So, I think, Trump being in office, politics, different things impacting real estate, bonus depreciation coming back possibly. How does these type of things affect self-storage? I mean, I think I hear it more, affecting residential, maybe even small multi-type space, but how does these type of policies or decisions impact self-storage spaces?
Yeah. Well, I think there's twofold. There's back to the self storage, but then there's also how does it affect the demographics and the economics of where they're located. Like we like North Dakota with Trump as president because he wants to bring back drilling, and so we're in oil and gas towns in North Dakota. Hopefully, there's going to be an influx of people to those towns that all make substantial amount of money doing what they do and buy stuff and store stuff. So I think you have to look at, where does the macroeconomics, where are people moving, what industries are coming, and are those industries, going to be using self-storage? And so you look at, he wants to bring manufacturing back. Well, we're kind of focused right now on different areas that we believe to be manufacturing hubs in the future, because we know there's going to be a lot of people coming that way. And so I think there's that portion of it. And then there's just the real estate asset class itself. If people have more money in their pocket, they buy more, and they use self-storage. But the biggest driver to self-storage are people moving. And so when interest rates are high, people aren't moving. That's a huge portion of our customers. People moving from one house to another. Oftentimes they rent self-storage, and then they never get rid of it because they actually don't have the space in their new house. And so if interest rates can come down, and if that's part of what President Trump wants to do, and he's able to accomplish that, then we're going to see more people moving, and we're going to see a larger demand for self-storage. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But definitely, self-storage is affected by the macro. That said, it is very micro in the fact that, you may be oversupplied with self-storage 10 miles away, but where you are, you might be undersupplied because people aren't driving super far for self-storage. It's usually within a 1 to 3 to 5 mile radius. And so, yes, the macro affects it, but you really have to look at the micro in that specific area and focus on that 1, 3, 5 mile radius to know if it's a good investment or not.
Do you think like areas, because it seems like smaller homes are being built, right? A lot of their restrictions on ADUs and Ohana suites and smaller units are also being more implemented. Do you think that's going to help the self-storage space because people have these smaller homes to live in and they need these facilities to store their things?
I don't think Americans are going to stop buying things. that we don't need. Like it's just like in our blood. Like that's what we're gonna do. We always want the next best thing, but we don't want to get rid of the last thing we had. And so the fact that more Americans are pushed into smaller homes, especially in their family starting years or apartments, is a benefit to self storage because it gives people the space for little Johnny's trophy that they're not going to throw away, but they don't have the room for it in their house. And so. Yeah, I think it works that way as well. When people are downsizing, that's good for self storage. But really, what we want to see is just movement in general. We just want to see the housing market pick up because that directly affects self storage.
Flavio, who's in Grandview, Washington, he says, "What is the minimum population that you're investing in? I guess is there a certain criteria for you?"
Yeah, we focus on under 30,000 population, with a number of our facilities being under 3,000 population for the city itself. Um, the reason being is that a lot of the big time players, the REITs, the public storage, the Extra Space, the Cube Smart, they're all playing in that primary secondary market. When you start getting out into more tertiary markets, it doesn't make sense for public storage or Extra Space to have a facility out there at this point because they don't have the scale and they're not able to charge the rents that justify a brand new facility like that. And so our whole goal was, hey, let's separate ourselves from them. I don't want to compete against them. They'll outplay me. They have more money than me. They'll win on marketing on a number of different levels. So I'm going to go buy where they're not. But what I'm going to do is try and be the most sophisticated operator in that small, unsophisticated market. And that way I can have the highest prices and people are still going to rent for me. So we focus on under 30,000 with most of our facilities being probably under 10,000, the vast majority of them. And there's just less competition because there's just not as much of a need for self-storage in those spaces. So we can be the one people go to.
So what about AI now? The coming of AI, is it changing your business plans or is it helping self storage? How's it impacting you?
Yeah, so I mean, I've used it for a long time. I continue to use it just in help with marketing, with business plans, with I'll use it on I'll put in financials and how should I handle this next rental increase and what percentage should I bump rent, and based on historical data, how many customers should I expect to lose and what would be my net profit. And I'm using it as a operator all the time. We use it on the acquisition side too for scraping tools and things like that in order to get owners information and figure out who owns self-storage. How it's going to change an entire industry will be that's yet to be seen fully. There are a lot of AI integrations into self-storage, and a lot of these are newer self-storage spaces in primary markets, like where you can open the door with your phone and there's no more locks. Or they can lock you out from their computer automatically with their back-end AI software as soon as you don't pay, things like that. So operations are going to streamline, whether or not that has the downstream effect to me all the way out in a tertiary market in a small facility in a small population. I probably don't need to implement a lot of that stuff right now in order to be competitive. But if the larger companies keep moving out and keep moving closer to me, then potentially it will. So we'll see. I don't know exactly how it's going to affect the industry. It will. I do know that. But I'm just using it on an operator level right now to try and make the best decisions I can in the business realm.
So what kind of grade would you give you on your first deal that you acquired and now sold? So what would be your grade for yourself?
A grade. I don't know. I mean, for me, honestly, I mean, I'm happy with it. If my goal was obviously to sell it for $1 million to 1.1, we sold it for 1.25. We made 500,000 or whatever it was, 80% return in 22 months. Like, there's definitely people doing better deals than that. There's a lot of people doing a lot worse deals than that. My goal for the first one was just to learn And I was like, hey, even if I just break even, like, yes, I did the projections and I wanted to make the 300 to 400,000, but I just figured if I could just learn self-storage, make my mistakes on this one and break even, like that would be a win. And so the fact that we were able to exceed that, I was able to learn and make money is really cool. I think a lot of it had to do at the time we were buying too. We bought it at a good price. That's a big piece of this. You have to buy it right. That's just with real estate in general. You make your money on the buy. We bought it right, and so that obviously helps. And it's gotten more competitive since early 2023, when everybody was like, "Whoa, what are we doing? I'm not buying anything until I see what happens with rates." Now that we've kind of leveled out, it's more competitive, and those buys aren't necessarily out there. But yeah, I mean, I'm happy with it.
So what's like you said, you're saying that things have changed from when you first started buying. Like, what is probably the most challenging thing now? Is it where rates are at, or is it more competitive?
I think it's rates. I think a lot of sellers are still holding on to numbers that they got in 2021, 2022. I know that was 3 years ago, but the offers that they got when rates were at 3% versus the offers they're getting today when rates are at 7% are very different. For valid reasons. And when they're holding on to that number they have in their head, it's hard to combat that. And hard to create win-wins when they're stuck with those numbers. So I think rates are a big portion of it. And I think self-storage has gained popularity, definitely over the last 5 years, but even just in the last couple of years, there's more people, I think, entering the space. There's more money in the space. There's more money on the sidelines right now. So people are able to, when the right deal comes, they're able to do it cash. So there's some more competition as well.
I'm not sure if you know the answer to this, but like you can look up, residential sales data or transactions, like commercial space and what. So what does self-storage, does it fall under its own category, or does it fall under commercial space? And like, what does that fall under when you're looking up data?
It should have its own data points. I've seen information on it. I can't recall exactly what it is, but yeah, you should be able to look up self-storage transaction volume and see exactly what's traded.
So do you think there's like, because like Michael Zuber talks about, like there's a lot of pain, coming in like commercial spaces, a lot of people are on these adjustable rate debt and whatnot. So do you see that something coming down the pipeline for self-storage spaces, or what does that look like?
I think we're at the very beginning of it. I mean, I have one. I mean, I bought a triplex in 2021, 5-year, 4% rate, and it adjusts to 1+ prime after 5 years. So what I bought it in 20. That's next year. So next year I'm going to go from a 4% rate to probably like a 7.5, 8%, depending on where rates are. That eats a lot of profit that I have from that. And I may consider just selling it because I don't want to deal with it. Now, if that was my only form of income and all that profit goes away, I may now sell that quickly at a reduced price because I just need cash because my income's gone. And so, how does that little example that I just started, how does that translate to self-storage? Well, there's a lot of mom and pop self-storage operators where that's how they make their money and that's what they live on is the cash flow. And if they do have an adjustable rate, it's going to start coming due, this year and over the course of the next 5 years. And so we might see some panic sellers who just need the cash and whose deals don't make sense anymore. But I think we also have a lot of people on the sidelines ready for that this time and excited at that opportunity. So, I don't know. We'll see which one outweighs the other. But, if there's enough people willing to buy with long-term horizons, it might not be that much of a buying opportunity. But we'll see. It's always, you just got to talk to the right seller on the right day.
All right. Well, I don't see any more questions right now. So if anyone is tuning in and has questions for Kevin on his deal or self-storage, put it in the chat. Anything else you want to talk about on that deal that you just went full cycle on, I guess? I mean, anything else you want to talk about or on that specifically?
No, I mean, I think there's when you're buying self storage and you're trying to create value, there's two different things you have to do. You have to do the operational overhaul and then a physical overhaul. So physical overhaul is, you know, fixing roofs, doors, things like that. The operational overhaul is getting it set up online, getting a website, making sure you're communicating with your tenants, rent increases, things like that. So it's a combination of both, you know, the business side and then the physical side as well. I do own some crypto.
See, proof,
Professor Oak.
proof. Okay, I brought him here. Well, I told him go check out Hugo Stay Winning podcast. He's on YouTube. I'm trying. We used to collaborate on a lot of things. He's been a little bit busy, but I'm trying to get him back on because I told him I need someone to keep you coming back to the channel. So I'm trying to get him back on. But Kevin did say he owned crypto or Bitcoin. So Hyder will point out that they are different in, Bitcoin is Bitcoin and crypto is kind of a more general term. So what do you own, I guess?
Um, so I don't know much about crypto. I just set my account to buy it every week, and I've done that for the last couple of years. So every week I just certain dollar amount just buys it.
But
So
Bitcoin or
it
a
buys
certain.
Bitcoin, it buys Sol,
Mhm.
it buys Ethereum, and then I have a bunch of XRP from like back when it was like 10 cents. Some fireman was like, "Hey, buy this," and I listened to the stupid fireman. I'm like, "All right, whatever." Threw a bunch of money into it, and turns out it was good. It was a good time to buy that. So I have a bunch of that still. I've sold some of it, but I forgot that. That's all I got.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah. I don't know what else you working on, man. Every time I have you on, I check in if you're retired yet because you just sold a self storage facility for X amount of money, and
Yeah,
uh, so that shorten the timeline for your firefighting career.
yeah, maybe. I mean, I'm still trying to get to 10. I think 10 years is a good career. I'm a couple, year and a half away from that. Um, so we'll see. We'll see. I've been
So,
having a lot of fun doing the coaching thing, and then I've been having a lot of fun doing the lending. We've been lending on a lot of deals, and allowing people to buy deals that maybe they wouldn't typically be able to buy traditionally. So that's been fun and it's been profitable. Um, so those two things, we may throw some more money into the lending space. Um, those have
well,
been kind of
I'll
taking up some
just say
time.
whatever makes you happy, man. But
Appreciate that.
but I know, like I always, like you said, man, a 10-year career is great. It's probably more than a lot of people can say, right? That they're able to do this career. Um, but yeah, like you said, man, it sounds like you're having fun doing other things, and um, you know, I don't know if you follow. I don't mean to keep harping on it, but you know, um, I do want to, Mark Ferguson from Invest for More, a great content creator, YouTube real estate investor. He was in laundromats. He was doing a lot of good things out there. He passed away suddenly recently.
Mm.
And it makes you, it's a reminder on tomorrow's not guaranteed, right? And you know but just yeah, you're killing it, man. I like what you're doing, and like I said, man, it's 10 years is actually, it's a long career, man. It's a
Yeah,
great career, but at least you have options, right? I think that's the number one thing is you've given yourself options, and if you want to continue, you can continue. I mean, for me, I'm trying to find that exit door. Hey, what's up? So Casey, you got to convince Kevin, Casey. So Kevin's in the Bay Area also, man. Casey's trying to, I think he's out the door already. Yeah. I'll stick with my Highlander reference. Yep, there can. Oh, for his Bitcoin and crypto, yes. Hyder is a big proponent that Bitcoin is better than crypto, and there can be only one.
I
So
just looked the other day. I think it's at like an all-time high right now, right? Is that like
yeah, it's
107,000 or something?
oh yeah, of course. When it's going, you hear about it all over X. I'm sure you see it everywhere.
Yeah.
But Casey is I don't know if he has 2 feet out the door of California already. He's probably
Mm.
one and a half out the door, but he's over that place already. And
Yeah.
I think Kev, I don't know if you've been on with Tyler. He was a LA County or LA firefighter. He's out. He got hurt on the job, so he's out.
Okay.
But he's a lender. He's a Maltese mortgage. But same thing. I mean, he's kind of only. I mean, it's family reasons pretty much, right? He's still
Yeah.
in California, and I think that's a lot of your
That's
reason
what's keeping
too.
us here for sure.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Especially with
um,
little kids, it helps, having that help.
see, Casey says, well, he says, yeah, I love to. He
1.5.
love to convince you. Did you know that there's a Facebook group leaving California?
No.
Yeah, there's like multiple Facebook groups. I think Casey may have started it actually, but he's 1.5 out the door. He says,
That's awesome.
yeah, Proof O says 8 all-time high, but not against all-time high in U.S. dollars, but not against other currencies. Okay.
Yeah, that's all above my head. I just like buying simple metal boxes and fixing them up and owning them.
Okay. Well, you know, since you just brought that up, fixing it up. So like, like what is, you know, the biggest type of things you got to improve on it? I mean, like as far as I don't know, repairs, man. What are you looking at when you acquire it?
Yeah, I mean, the physical is just roofs, doors, latches, foundation, right? It depends if it's gravel or asphalt, concrete drives. You look at those, but you add lighting, you add security. That's pretty much security cameras. That's pretty much it. Um, Operational, getting a website, being able to rent online, pay online, move in online, move out online. Um, Automating things like lien letters and auction letters and late payments and late fees and things like that. So it's, I think I was saying before, there's the operational portion that you have to overhaul, and then there's the physical portion if needed. Um, the physical side is it's not much. It's just making sure that box that you own opens and closes right.
Yeah, Casey says he's joined the Facebook Leaving California group already. So
Nice.
yeah, like I say, he's probably the founding father. But I think he's gonna move to Vegas and test it out
Mm.
there. I think, but part of the reason for him too is I think I may be wrong. Maybe if you can correct me, Casey, if I'm wrong. But I think part of it is also the maybe education system part of California, and maybe the whole political type stuff and
Yeah.
education wise. So that's also why he's exiting, but he's going to test it out in Vegas. He's not. I think he's not quite sure about the weather, the summer months for him or the family. So they're going to try it out. But yeah,
Vegas would be cool. Yeah, we're actually under contract on a like a rent to own kind of. Actually, we're buying it. We're allowing a lease back for 2 years. So we're buying it at a pretty big discount. These people need cash. Single family home. It's worth $520. We're paying $420. We're leasing it back to them for 2 years. They're going to prepay the rent at closing, so we'll have the rent money, and then in 2 years, hopefully it's still worth $520 or more, and we'll sell it. Anyway, that's Vegas, so that's made me think of it.
nice. Yeah, yeah. I love what you're doing, man. So anytime you willing to hop on, I'm sorry Harrison couldn't. He really had a lot of questions for you. Like I said, he either he's having coffee or a seller in South Carolina reached out to him. So I think he did have some self storage questions. And Andy, unfortunately, got called in on an emergency. So he, like I said, he did reach out to you offline. So,
Yeah.
uh, but Andy's a good guy. So, um, where? Maybe Casey's asking where in Vegas. Maybe I think because
Oh.
I think that might be his correction or question.
I have to look it up. I don't have the address in front of me. I thought maybe it was in my text, but I don't think it is.
Yeah. Yeah. So Harrison unfortunately got called into a work meeting. Oh, which, well, yeah, I don't know. He's saying which zipper address, please, Kevin.
Let me see.
Jeez. Yeah.
I'll tell you. Zip code is 89148. No
Watch
idea
out.
where that is. I don't. Most of the places I buy, I've never seen. We have someone go out and look at them, or I do with a partner who knows the area. So, yeah, 89148. No idea if that's a good zip code or bad zip code, but
All right. And
sounds
then,
like we can get a deal for about 100K less than it's worth, which is always a good thing.
and your coaching, that's for self storage, or what is that about? Like, what do you?
Yeah. So started coaching for self storage. Well, I should say it's kind of in general, just because I've been fortunate enough to do a lot of things on just in business in general. So two of the people are heavy into self storage. They want to. One of them's brand new. The other one wants to grow. Um, and so I'm helping them. And then the third person, it's more just general business coaching. He owns a couple service businesses, so I'm helping him with just navigating business ownership as a whole. We've owned a lot of real estate adjacent businesses, construction companies, property management companies, different things along the way, and so just kind of bringing that experience and sharing it, and being a sounding board for those people, and helping them just kind of excel in business in general.
All right, so Casey says he'll DM you later. So Casey, there is, or Casey, message me and I can get you Kevin's contact. But if not,
Nice.
There's his X profile if you want to follow him on X. That's primarily where he's at. And yeah, man, I don't know how you get tons of views on your shit. How you doing that,
Me?
man? But yeah,
I just post real life stuff about what I'm doing.
is your highest one still that one about going to the was it going to the park with your kid?
No, I posted one that was got a lot of views, but there's one that it got like over 1 million views.
Yeah,
I
wasn't
think I
that
was
the
talking
one
to
about the park?
no, I was talking to a firefighter about what he was gonna pay off his house,
Oh, that's right.
and I was like,
Yeah.
"What's your rate, dude?" And he's like, "Oh, he's at 2.5%." I'm like, "Man, like you can make more as long as you can make more than 2.5%. Like, don't pay off your house. Go make some more money." And anyway, we got in this debate, so I posted it on X, and that just got like 1 million views of whether or not this dude should pay off his house.
Yeah, who I got to get you on with with Aaron Foster. He's a firefighter in the DC area. So
Oh, okay.
he's totally like the political stuff
Yeah.
and everything. Dude, you're like got like a halo going on over
Dude,
your head right now.
I've got these high windows. I don't know if you can check this out. I've got like windows way up there.
It's like, dude, you got this aura now going on.
I know.
No, but anyway, he just had his second kid, so he's kind of busy. But Aaron is hilarious. But dude, he gotta do some fight on social. Some dude messaged like this fitness coach guy or whatever. I think,
Yeah.
or actually, so this guy either quit, fired, left the fire, or whatever. This guy had like maybe 5 years in the fire service, and I think he's doing like online like fitness coaching or whatever. And anyways, he messaged Aaron like one of those DMs, I think, like, hey, like something. And then Aaron's like, dude, like, why are you messaging? Or anyway, I don't know. But it went like back and forth. And then I guess the guy started insulting Aaron about like, oh, you're not even in shape and stuff anymore, kind of stuff. And then Aaron is just like, dude, I fell through a ceiling and, my back, and,
Oh
anyways,
god.
but then supposedly that guy like called the chiefs of Aaron,
Oh
like,
wow.
or internal affairs of that fire department. So now Aaron's like, dude, man, these guys are like investigating me
Oh,
and
that
other shit.
sucks. What a
Yeah.
mess.
So Aaron is hilarious though. He
That
he
sucks.
he sends me all kind of memes, but every time he comes on, man, it's I don't know if I'm gonna get canceled. I don't know like who like what kind of comments are gonna come through, but yeah, he's a good guy, man. He's funny.
Yeah. Well, have us all on, dude. I'll jump on again. I enjoy talking to you. I always enjoy talking self storage. So if anyone has questions, let me know.
All
I've
right,
actually got
cool.
to go take my
Yep.
daughter to ballet, so that's what I'll be
Oh,
doing right now.
nice. All right. Yeah, I'll get you Casey's information. Thanks for doing this. Sorry, everyone. Harrison wasn't able to jump on. And I will be back Friday. I think a lot of people are looking forward to that one. I'm gonna have Pittsburgh broker, owner, property manager Alex Deacon, and a contractor Omar Mohammed in the Pittsburgh area. So tune in for that one. So
Nice.
thanks, man.
Yeah, you got it, man. I'll talk to you soon, Mark.
All right, man. Bye.